Well, thank you very much for being here. I'm going to kick it off with just some questions, and then I'm going to open this up so everyone in the audience can ask questions as well. And I'm going to start with Jeff. So Jeff, in this shift to move out here, obviously there's a level of global thinking already. What would you share about the importance of thinking global and how, by you having adopted that in a way that, frankly, a lot of Americans haven't, how that has changed your outlook on the potential of your business and where you're taking it?
So how many of you want to make money globally? Raise your hand. Awesome, good. So to make money globally, you have to think globally, correct? And after working with over 125,000 entrepreneurs all over the world, what I've discovered is that there is a major, massive opportunity as long as you are not only online, but offline. Don't forget to continue to do business offline, because a lot of times as we go out in the world, we continue to discover there's lots of opportunity to speak, to be in front of other people. Yet, when we first started in this business, how many of you are coaches or trainers or speakers, or you have a message in you that you want to reach out? Okay, keep them up so I can see. This is awesome, wonderful. So for those of you specifically, the mistake I made when we first started was we did all kinds of offline trainings. So we would just continually be in front of rooms all the time. Yet in the beginning stages, we forgot to make our videos. We forgot to collect the database. So we left millions of dollars on the table. So if you want to make money globally, you gotta think beyond this area. You got to think, who can I reach externally using my videos, using my database, using opt-ins, stuff of that nature.
Very cool, very good. Sandra, I'm going to ask you, as someone who has seen opportunity in different businesses, and even with the likes of Aspire said, hey, that's something I could really see great value in building. What is it that you would say, let's say in the last 5 years, has been like a surprise, either on the plus side or maybe on the minus side, in the way that technology has moved, and what you've had to do to keep up or to leverage it?
Thanks, Roger, and thanks for inviting me here today. In the last 5 years, the economy's changed so much, and what tended to happen, and certainly when the GFC hit, everybody just thought they had to work harder to make more money, and it just didn't work that way. So the ones that did flourish throughout the GFC and are flourishing today look back in their businesses of how I can be flexible. And the flexibility, I believe, is what is the key to the success. Coming along today and looking at new opportunities, looking at things that are out of the box, as Roger's daughter said, and constantly growing and learning yourself. What technology? I think the technology changes so much. It's not to think that Facebook's the answer. It's not to think that LinkedIn's the answer. There's no one thing that, even what we've seen with the different waves today, that's the solution. It's the combination, and it's certainly what Jeff said. You have to be a presence in your business, and in some form, there's certainly some businesses that would only be electronic, but the businesses that I deal with and the business clients that I work with are all a big part of their business, is their personality that comes through and how they leverage and multiply and value that.
Yeah, and Josh, I'm just talking about technology. I love your shirt, and you got all the info on there about who you are and what you do. So there's a brand that you've built, and there's a focus you've got on video. When did you decide? Was there a moment when you said, right, that's what I want to be focusing at? When was that? And where do you see that now as taking you, and is going to take you in the next 5 years or so?
Yeah. Well, thanks, Roger, for letting me get up here and share my story. I guess the point where it really shifted for me, I used to work as a telemarketer at a website company.
Right.
And at that time, I was actually studying advertising at uni because I had this dream of working in an ad agency. And when I finished my studies and I had this bit of paper so I could go and approach advertising agencies and say, yep, I know how to do this, I'd actually learnt through the telemarketing with this website company what businesses could actually benefit from spending money on a website and getting on Google versus spending money on a full-page ad.
Right.
And it was about 4 years ago I could see that what used to be Google was becoming Facebook and YouTube.
Yeah.
And it was really clear that no one was really embracing it. I mean, we've talked a lot about video today. Could I get a show of hands who understands they need to be using video in their business? Keep your hand up if you're using video. So yeah, we've been working with people locally in Perth and internationally and over east as well. But I find most industries, and you could do this yourself, whatever business you're in, just looking locally, let's forget about the global thing for a second, but search Google for your industry and Perth. So an example I did recently was patios Perth. Now, out of the top 30 businesses that were ranked in those search results, only 2 of them had video, and both of them, I don't believe they were getting the right advice. So there's a massive opportunity for everyone here. I'm not saying, look, come and talk to me and I'll do the video, because you might want to try and do it yourself. There's lots of, I know, where's Jack? Jack? He was here.
He's making a video.
There he is. There's Jack at the back of the room with the blue tie. So there's a number of people that can help you with video, and yeah, I'd suggest you embrace it and don't wait until another 6 months till someone asks you the question, have you got video? So
we had a really interesting conversation at the Green School a year ago when we said one fundamental thing every student must have is a video documentary every year of what they're up to and what they're doing. And some of the teachers there were saying, yeah, but video cameras are really expensive, and we're going to have to go out there and we're going to have someone expert who can do the videoing. And we're like, well, don't all the kids have all mobile phones that can do video straight away? It's like, yeah, but we banned phones from schools. And you suddenly realize the whole way that everything is can reverse around.
Yeah.
And kids are naturally doing them all the time. And from the examples of the videos we showed today, it's not about doing a in fact, no one wants to see some polished professional video. They want to see something from the heart, something which is impromptu, something which is like, hey, here is me. And that you can just do straight like that, which is really, really important, is not to be afraid to just jump in it and do it, because it makes all the difference by having it. Yeah, so absolutely. So Alan, from your side, as you have seen things grow and your entire, there's no question that there's a level of anti-technology in ways where some people say, hey, you know what, it's not about technology, it's about humanity. And that was a point I was making earlier as to how when you embrace technology, it actually allows you to be more human as well. How have you seen the nature of what people are looking for right here in Australia and your market, the people who are your community? How have you seen that evolve, and how they've gone about embracing, and how you've gone about embracing technology to be able to be more of what it is that you are sharing as key values for living?
Thanks, Roger. Well, I guess it comes from shift in technology. And you talk a lot about things that are becoming outdated and having to move. And I guess you mentioned the HoloSync program before, and that's an audio CD program. And what I have noticed over the recent years is, of course, the move away from audio CDs to more digital type of downloads and so on. And I guess where I'm a Lord profile, and one of the things that I've found success in is taking things from other places, products that already exist, and then bringing them in here, and if you like, multiplying them. And so I did that with HoloSync, and that's been very successful. But there are challenges there with the format, and because I don't control that particular business, then I can't really change that. So what I've really done is shift my business to other things in the same area. For example, nutritional supplements. We developed some our own. We're also partnering with a company that does those on a continuity sort of a basis. But coming back to answer your question, it's really, I've also set up a new website just this year called Heal Your Health Yourself. And I think that really targets really where people want to be, which is they don't necessarily want to go off and see a doctor. They're very much in that self-empowerment type of mentality, which is that, I'll research these things myself. And so that's where I've taken my business, is integrating all that into that whole philosophy of heal your health yourself.
Very good. So and I wasn't even aware of that. So you've actually made some really interesting shifts recently. And this is one of the things that we were talking about this morning, which is not about what's my strategy, which way do I need to go, but how you're able to know when's the right time to get off a wave. And so would any of you want to volunteer a story about where you have you have seen, hey, this wave is ending, it's time for us to move on, and you've had to make some shifts, whether it's a bit too late and realizing, oh my goodness, we should have done this 6 months ago, or where it's just in time, but where really things have shifted quite dramatically as a result of seeing a particular industry drop or a particular technology change and having to actually change strategy. Anyone?
Yeah, this has actually happened quite recently with myself and the team at MyBiz. We've had a challenge with microphones that actually are very noisy while you're trying to talk. No, a lot of our work is, I put my heart into what we do with the video, and I'm very sensitive, I guess, to what I think is the appropriate message for a client and constructing that sales message and really taking care of that so the business owner doesn't need to think about it. But I found that there's also a lot of people in this room and in the market, and like you were saying, where it's about being genuine and speaking from the heart. And, the videos that we're producing now, we've actually shifted our business model to make the studio at Osborne Park available for anyone to come in. We're not going to write the script. We've got the lighting, the camera, the sound, everything's all professional. And whether you want to sit on the couch and have an interview with someone, or whether you just want to do a quick little testimonial with a client, or we've actually got a TV so you can do a PowerPoint. So it's really, for me, it's been a shift in letting go of crafting the whole thing. And although the price is a lot cheaper and it's not where I really enjoy doing it, it's actually having that leverage and that being able to go, well, yeah, that's a shift that someone's got to fill that space in the market, and that's how we've evolved. So
right,
yeah.
Very good. Jeff, you were sharing a story with me when we were in Melbourne about how, as different people shift in their values, they have values in a particular way. If you want to connect with certain people, how you understand that value based on technology or based on what we were talking earlier about magnifying and bringing people together. And you got a supporter profile, and we were talking about Chris Anderson and Ted and bringing those communities together, and you were telling that story around Richard Branson and what you were currently planning. Do you want to share with everyone just how that story evolved and what you're going to be doing?
Sure, which leads into the question of what one of the trends are that are happening. And what's happening today that you may want to get involved in, and some of you already are, is that there's a growing opportunity for entrepreneurs to become social entrepreneurs. So what is a social entrepreneur? How many want to give back and make massive contributions? Yeah. So we have a goal to raise $1 million every single year. I mean, we present over 250 days a year. Just this year, I'll be in Singapore, Asia, Malaysia, Hong Kong, Italy, Barcelona, Germany, and Australia, the United States. And so that's a lot of rooms, right? And is that a lot of leverage? Yes. Is leverage important in a business? So if we're going to go out and we're going to be in front of all these people, thousands and thousands of people, wouldn't it make sense that we carry some sort of flag? Maybe the flag of social entrepreneurism. So what is your flag? What do you want to contribute to? Beyond the business, because once the money's handled, you'll make millions of dollars, and whatever that is, that'll happen. And then as that happens, what we're noticing is a growing trend in entrepreneurs standing in the flag of social entrepreneurship. That means that they have a fund of some sort, a charity, a contribution that they made. Just last week we raised $26,000 for the Super Camp Australia. And so now what this does is it not only gives you, going to bed at night, it's nice knowing that you made a massive contribution. But on a bigger level, you continue to get more exposure, more introductions. So how many of you want to start networking with more billionaires and millionaires? Right there? Okay. The way you do that, and I was having dinner with Sir Richard Branson after a large event that I spoke on with my business partner Kane, and what do you say to Sir Richard Branson? Like, really? You go up to, he has everything, right? So one of my one-on-one clients consults with over 3,000 nonprofits all over the United States. And she also consults with high net worth individuals like Charles Schwab on where do they put their money to make the most difference possible. And I said to her, I'm having dinner with Richard Branson. Do you have any ideas of, can we look into his Virgin Unite fund? Can we check things out a little bit and see how we could contribute to him? Now, most people go up to someone like Richard, and they're constantly saying, look at my business plan, look at my business plan. They always want something. So as a takeaway for you guys, when you meet successful people, give first. Always give first. So when you're out with when you connect with somebody, give first. So the first thing we did to connect with Richard is I walked up, I said, Richard, I've done a lot of research with my team on Virgin Unite, which is a great organization that supports entrepreneurs, AIDS initiatives, and many other things. And I said to him, and what I've noticed is that you could be raising more money. And one of my clients who I'm working with has consulted in these companies, immediate credibility. So when you meet with someone successful, you gotta establish credibility. You gotta do what? Exactly. So establish credibility immediately, and I said, and I've created a report for you about the ways I think we could be helping you raise more money. I'm not talking about engaging with us or consulting with us. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking I can just support you in doing this. And then immediately, it was incredible. Within about 5 minutes, he walked me over with Kane, and he said, he walked us over to this little table over here, and there was 2 executives sitting there that were executive team. And he said, set up a meeting with this guy. Immediately, a week later, had a meeting with Virgin Unite, and the conversations go on. Many conversations later, and we're looking at booking out Sir Richard Branson's Necker Island and creating what we call the Game Changers, which is literally having Sir Richard Branson, Kane, and I, and about 15 other people that we hand-select that come to really create initiatives to change the world. So what is the business that you're really in? It's not about the business you're in. Ask yourself, who are you becoming in the business that you're set out to do? From Jim Rohn.
Very cool. Yep. All right, thank you. We're very fortunate to the fact that pretty much every single person on the stage here you'd have to kind of travel to and get to an event and really put a lot of effort in to get to, and here we have them all on stage. So
that's because he's like a TED conference in one. Like multiple TED conversations. So we come to you like a TED conference.
So this is so we're all fortunate to be here, and at the same time, it's so easy to miss whatever answers you're looking for. Simply because we didn't have a chance to ask the question. So the fundamental thing right now is, what is your $1 million question? If you could ask any question, and it could be to everyone, it could be a general question, or it could be to a specific person who's up here, one of the individuals who's here right now, what would that question be? So I'm going to give you just a moment with the person next to you to turn to that person and say, here's the best idea of what my question would be if I had a chance to ask a question. Hear what they have to say as well, so you really get things thinking, and then we're actually going to take a couple of questions. So turn to the person next to you and come up with it. What would be your $1 million question? Okay, thank you very much. Thank you. We're going to take a number of questions now. Now, one thing I've learned always about questions is not all questions get answered, but one thing that's a general pattern is, in general, it's the questions that get asked that the ones that get answered. So who here has a question you'd like to ask? Or we got a whole bunch of questions. We're going to start right here. We've got microphones as well, so we're going to run over for microphone. And when you do ask the question, do just introduce yourself, who you are, and then who you're going to direct the question to, and then the question.
Hi, my name's Ryan. Most of the world has got a major problem over the next 20 years with ageing population. Are there any industries, technologies, or strategies that you can think of where we can use to invest and capture some of that market? That's to anyone.
Yeah, look, this is an industry that I've been, I guess, moving into, which is essentially that whole anti-aging type of thing. So, I mean, pushing my own barrow a bit here, but nutritional supplements that help in that area are just huge and just growing dramatically. So that's where I'm investing a lot of time and effort.
There's also an element around this whole area, if it happens to be your market, which is around experience. I don't think there's anyone who would look at the whole idea of nursing homes and so on and think that's a wonderful way for my grandparents to be spending their years. And if you actually go and look at what's happening in places like the US and Europe right now, they had the most unbelievable, it's almost like Disneyland. I mean, what they're starting to create, which is actually coming from just a number of people that are actually getting to that age and saying, I don't want to just have a home like the other homes. I'm going to get myself into a community which is specific in a particular area. So, in places like the States, they've got ones which are just for people who are fans of country and western, and they show up there and they've got a recording studio, and they basically all go around in their hats and their cowboy stuff, and you got other ones which is like gay and lesbian. It's like, come here because we're going to have a great time, and they basically have a whole different group, and so there's all these communities building up to the extent that there are people in their 40s already moving into them because they're just having such a good time, right? So there's a whole bunch of things experience-wise which I think is going to happen, which happens always when you start expanding a market, right? And it starts niching down even more. Okay,
and massive opportunity too. There's a lot of people that are going to be around with a lot of money, and they're going to be cashed up, and they're going to be mobile, and they're going to be looking at places to have fun, not to settle down or even just get the caravan, but actually spend the next 20 years investing back in themselves. And I think that that's something you can really create opportunities from too. And in Scandinavia, they actually are building aged care homes and facilities next to daycare facilities so that they have the interaction of the young with the old, and that's a fantastic thing to bring the mentors back into our community.
Absolutely. Just one extra final part, which is something I really recommend you have a look at if you haven't yet. There's a TED Talk of someone called Sugata Mitra, and Sugata and then Mitra. Sugata Mitra basically had this experiment, which is it possible to kind of put just computers in the walls of slums in India and people would self-educate themselves? And sure enough, people figured out all sorts of amazing things. All these little kids, they worked it all out. Basically he'd just go in and put a little, a question on the board. Even he'd go into Italy, into places to experiment in Europe, and basically, put in an English question like who was Pythagoras, and then leave it, and they'd go onto Google Translate and figure out what was that mean in Italian, and then they'd go off and find out by this person. They got so into it, and the one thing they were missing was just some mentorship or some care, and he found that the best way to do that was to give them a granny. He figured out that if you have someone who just has been around for a while, who's wise, who would just listen to them and go, well, here's what you might want to do. So what he did, and you go to this TED Talk, Sugata Mitra, he has created something called the Granny Cloud. So the Granny Cloud is where basically he has tapped in all of these people in America, in England, who are grannies, who are at home, who has a computer, and who are happy at any point to basically go ding, and then they'll be talking to little groups of Indian kids or African kids and so on, and saying, how's it going? Oh, yeah, and then actually give them encouragement on what they're up to and what they're doing. And it's just quite amazing how technology links to the whole idea that you have these amazing wise women all around the world who want to contribute.
Probably all stars, are they?
Let's take another question. Yes.
Yeah, we've talked a lot about digital, and we've talked about Watson taking everyone's job. My question to the panel is, will the nouveau riche be tradespeople?
Anyone? Is that just a general?
Well, it's just a question.
Well, will Watson replace a mechanic? No, because you have to have your car fixed. Will Watson replace a hairdresser? No. You've got, yeah.
So we were talking earlier about looking into the future, and things that we spoke about today, if you'd said them a year ago, would have sounded impossible. So what I'm saying is, with regards Watson taking over jobs, what happens with regards when we've got building and bits and pieces like that? Just an obscure thought about the future.
I think that the tradespeople, there's certain jobs that will never be replaced by a robot, although you could have a robot fix a car and you could have a robot fixer cut your hair. It's just that people still want to connect with people, and I think that that's probably a little bit further than 10 years down the track. Maybe it's not.
Oh, we've got that recorded now. It's actually live. We'll play that back to you next year.
What I think will be the big wave coming in is the technology of promoting them. And I believe that, getting quotes done online and getting out there and turning up to do a job, or the promotion of it will be more advanced a lot quicker than what it has been over the last 5 years.
Yeah, I was just going to say that I've heard some research that they're actually making these cars that drive themselves can actually transform into little miniature robots that fly above your head and can cut your hair, and they can do your plumbing and all types of things. So
the point about tradesmen, or the point about what will people be doing and who actually create the success, it actually is happening already. We're seeing it with those who are on stage right now. We saw it in the videos of those who are sharing there. There's a whole concept called artisanship, which is what is your craft? What is it that people are coming to you because you care so much about it? In Bali, when we're in Bali, the amount of effort and time people would take to sit down and watch a wood carver actually spend the time to carve, when they know they could go to and get a machine and do the same job, but it's actually seeing someone who has that level of attention to detail, and they're putting their heart and soul into that quality. And today we will pick coaches that we want to work with, or we'll pick speakers we want to hear from, not based on them being super polished, or we're taking it because they clearly are putting their heart into what they are, and we're willing to buy that experience. We're willing to stick around people like that. So that's one element for everybody, is knowing that there's an element which is further down the line as far as computers go, for them to be able to really put heart at that level. And we know they can go out and produce a whole bunch of stuff better than we can, but to really put that heart in, that's what we're all looking for in each other. And so the best thing you can be doing is thinking about what that is for yourself. Let's take another question. From over there, there's 2 hands up right over there. So let's take the one to the left. Okay, right there.
Hi, thank you. It's Graham. We work online and offline, but everyone is sort of convincing us to go Facebook, Twitter, all the other groups that are around. We go out looking at an iPad, and by the time we made a decision, there's iPad 2, and then there's another toy, iPad 3, and we're just not getting anywhere. So, any thoughts on what to do with that?
Ask what you sell, what you do.
Online business, small farm products.
Small farm products?
Yeah.
So do you have products online you're selling and also consulting?
Yes.
Okay, so you're a consultant that packages and positions your stuff online, and you go deliver a service, just correct?
Yes.
And your biggest concern is keeping up with the industry. What is the problem you're trying to solve?
Technology is moving so fast.
Yes.
We're always trying to find new ways of getting out to the public.
Yes.
But the toys keep changing.
Yeah. Well, the toys are always going to change. So that's one thing to know. And what we're noticing right now is, and there's statistics to back this up, is that more people are accessing the internet on their mobile devices than any other time. So whether you have the iPad 2 or the iPad 19, it doesn't really matter. What matters is that you're doing what whoever your customers are. So whoever you're selling to, you sell farm equipment, right?
No, just small farm equipment.
Small farm equipment. So what are they logging? Who cares what the rest is doing? What are they logging into? Where are those customers hiding out? Do they spend time online or do they not? That's your biggest question. The rest of them, don't worry about it. If you want to make money, you got to narrow your niche and know your niche. And what most people do is they take their marketing dollars and their attention and they throw it all over the place. As a kid, I used to those magnifying glasses. I would go to the magnifying glass and I'd burn stuff. I stopped that last week. But I would literally go in and I'd try and burn something. I burn a piece of paper or something, and then if I got the point really, really fine, I noticed it caught fire. But if I held it up too high, it wouldn't catch fire to the paper. So, but yet school was telling me, oh, just go pour all your marketing dollars on that piece of paper, just like the light. We don't have those kind of marketing budgets. We need to be very specific about our niche. And the question I have is, do you know your niche? How are they accessing? And if they have iPad 19s, you better get one. If they don't have iPad 19s and they have the regular stuff, don't worry about it. Just find out where your customers are hiding and open the door and discover them. That didn't make sense, but you get it. Yeah. Got it?
Very good.
Thank you.
Okay. Yeah.
Excellent. Yeah. Very good. All right, let's take a question from over here. There's a hand up at the close to the back over there. Keep your hand up, and then we'll get the microphone to you. Okay. We'll yeah, go for it.
Hi, my name's Lorna. I haven't even started a business yet, and apart from the advice you typically get, which is follow your passion, is there any other really important advice you would give to complement the passion advice?
Could I just jump straight in and say that is absolutely the worst advice you could get if that's the main advice you're taking? I'm just sharing that personally. There's a time to follow your passion, but if you're still basically at a point where you're figuring out what to do, and there's things like making money first and so on, sometimes the best thing to do is go get a job, not follow your passion. Yeah. Sometimes it's your discipline. It's a bit like saying, okay, so I'm spending too much money at the moment, and so I got to, it's like I'm eating too much. I got to go on a diet. So you say, okay, so what kind of diet? Well, what's your passion? Chocolate cake. Okay, go eat chocolate cake. It's like, no, that's what got you in trouble. Following your passion too much. So it's about discipline first, and it's about following the flow. And that's where the flow is, very much what Jeff was just saying. Look, where are the customers? What is it people are doing out there passionately and profitably that you can learn from, as opposed to just following passion? Because too many, I think, of us have followed that advice, and we're paying for it at the moment. So it's really, really important for me just to say that part. But.
Many persons follow their passion and end up bankrupt, and I think that you've got to be very aware. The 3 key areas in your business is your people, your product, and your processes. And if you get the processes right and the people right, it doesn't really matter what the product is most of the time.
Very good.
If there's what I've noticed is if you're looking to start a product, if you need to just generate revenue, one of the best things to do is to go be a consultant and get paid along the way. Now, why would it be important to be a consultant in the space that you're going to create a product in? Because you're going to continually learn and assess what customers most want. So after having worked with so many entrepreneurs, we see products that are needed in the marketplace, but we would never have known it if we weren't consulting in the space. So instead of going out and creating a product, which is a lot of time, a lot of overhead, and a lot of thinking, go out, consult the space that you most want to serve, discover what their needs are, and a product will evolve in the days and weeks to come. Second point, go out and figure out who's doing what you love and making money at it, and spend time with them. Simple.
Yeah, absolutely.
And learn to sell, or else you won't make any money, and you're better off getting a job. For real.
Yeah. Well, one aspect, just sharing on this, which is, it kind of sounds like, okay, so I've got to go out and I've got to make the money. And look, everyone's heard of Superman, right? Even Superman has to be Clark Kent some of the time. I mean, Superman goes out and saves the world, but doesn't get paid for it, right? So he's out there doing amazing things in his underpants, but he still makes sense that he still makes sure he's doing the Clark Kent time to earn the cash for the pants in the first place, right? So it's really important to make sure you got your Clark Kent time. You get in the job, you get the money, and then you can go be Superman the rest of the time, and it's all awesome, right? Okay. I'm going to take one more question, then I'm going to be asking everyone up here to just share a key final part they'd like to share with you. If there was like one thing they'd like to share. We're going to take the question right from the back over there. Their hands up, and now they're pointing, and we've got a gentleman there.
Hi, it's Richard Kaminsky. I'm just here with my business partners. We have a company. We're a registered training organisation, and where we train in emergency response and industrial safety skills. We have a team of trainers and personnel that go out into industry and train on sites, predominantly 90% or 80 to 90%. We're at the point now where we're ready to come off that wave onto the new wave, where we don't have enough people to go out and do that on site, or skilled people. We're training our own people to that level. So what we envisage now is that we have a training centre based here in Perth that, again, with a lot that I picked up here from today, that's what our clients want. We know that that's what they want. We've consulted with them. Probably the biggest thing for us is funding, because it's a multi-million-dollar world-class facility that we're looking at. We've got the skills to do that. So my question is, in regards to what we do, and we're not selling a video game or
I think we've got the background. I just get straight to the question.
Okay.
What's the question?
Okay. So what we after is the funding. How would a business like ours go, or look at trying to get some sort of micro deal or crowd funding? Would that work with our business?
First thing is, most companies that think they need funding don't. Most companies that think they need funding don't. I know you want funding to build a facility, but have you looked beyond that? Other ways to create it, joint venture partnerships, stuff of that nature. Just challenge you for a second, because when I was traveling all over India, everyone said they needed funding when they could just go out and sell something and create and get more consulting, bootstrap, and go from there. And they all wanted to start a big business, but no business starts big. They all start in garages or small places.
Yeah, on that point of funding, it's also worth asking, are you asking for the funding for your core cost to really deliver your value, or are you asking for the funding for your peripheral cost of stuff that you just want to do, like have a whole center, as opposed to having a global online training system which can get to everyone at a fraction of the cost?
Yeah.
So it really is about, that's where most companies go wrong, is they spend all their money trying to go out and get a big center or go out and spend on stuff which, frankly, no one asked for.
Huge overhead sometimes.
So it could be the model itself is the first place to really look at the question.
Yeah, look, with our business, online, with what we do now, it's hands-on, and is that what people want? Yes. Our clients have said, if you build it, we will come. In regards to other funding, yeah, look, we're looking at that at the moment. I just thought when that came up, I just thought, would that be an option? So
I definitely think if you have clients, awesome. If you have clients who say, if you build it, we will come, you should say, that is so fantastic. If you pay for it, we will build it.
Yeah, sell it before you build it.
Yeah, absolutely. And if they really want it, they'll do that for sure. So it really is about going back and testing them on that. And that's where most market research today is not market research where you're getting an opinion. It's where someone's actually physically putting down a deposit for something based on you then providing it.
And if you're committed to raising funding, just be very clear and concise about the exact. I've raised millions of dollars, and if I'm clear about the amount of money I need to raise, and when someone says how much are you raising, I'm raising $120 million, and I'm using it for these things. If you say I'm just raising some money, it's two different games. Know who you want to invest with, like who you want as partners, and don't just look at them for money sources. Look at them for the context that they have to support you when if things get challenging. So if you're going to raise money, be clear about the amount. Number one. Number two, look for partners beyond the money as well. That'll help you.
I'm going to follow up just a final part on this, which I'm going to ask of your business, and you've taken on Aspire, you've grown it. What's been your experience in terms of funding or requiring funding as you've grown?
I came into Aspire and came in as a general manager years ago in 2007 and set up their financial planning and financial broking divisions. And in 2008, the owner decided he would leave, and it was a property education company. And as we know, July 2008 was great. September onwards wasn't. And from there, I went through not just having had purchased a business, but also looking at how I could leverage into what was going to be a very unstable economy, and ended up going back to what my core business strengths are, and I'm a Lord in the profiling, and it's certainly around business. So I set up it to be a business focused business consulting, business advising, business training, and it still had other wealth streams in there, which was property and shares, so that people that were wanting to invest in property could look at the property as a product of a business. And the ones that survived and thrived through the GFC were certainly ones that looked at their property investing as it was a commodity that they traded, it was a deal that was good, not the market that was bad, and they're the ones that today have done successfully with their portfolios, successfully well. And there's certainly been some deals that haven't gone well, but overall they've been able to look at it as an overall business dealings as opposed to one stream.
So did you self-fund the way you grew the whole business?
Yeah, we self-funded, and we ended up breaking down their products so that we ended up it was a 12-month program. So what we created then was a custom-made business consulting. So some people could come in and do a weekend event. Some people could so we had cash flow, and then some people would come on and do business consulting for one visit versus for 12 months. And obviously the more they did, the cheaper it was. However, we were able to set it up so we had cash flow. That was the critical factor to everything. The other thing we've done, and it's been funding in this economy, was 2 years ago, my husband and I, and it's opportunities that you get in your industry that you're not always expecting. One of our good friends came to us and said, we're looking and we believe there's a market to set up a premix concreting business, and this is not in our flow or in our stream or anything we had experience in, but this person did. He had 25 years experience in the industry, and he couldn't fund it. So we had the business experience, and my husband certainly did, and between the two of them over the last 18 months, they've built from the ground up it's now a $7-8 million concrete manufacturing, a premix cement plant in Bibra Lake, and they launched the business in December. And there was a lot of obstacles, not just through funding, it was through the council, it was through, nobody likes concrete or cement dust, and Coburn Cement's got a bad name, and we're trying to build it in the Coburn Council, as people know. And so there was a lot of obstacles, and I'm just going back to the funding. The banks weren't giving out money, they weren't giving out for new enterprises, and they weren't giving it out for commercial, yet we were able to self-fund it, and certainly through the banks. So we just worked out how we could do it, and we just didn't take no for an answer and just kept going back and kept going back.
Okay, that's very. And that whole point about not being stuck by the funding, but saying based on where we're at, what's the next step we can take even without it, and so it's incremental. That's what you were doing, which kept on moving it forward, and then the home runs come. Something like getting a big chunk of funding is like a home run. but you've got to get your batting average up every single day moving forward for those home runs to show up as well.
Two parts. I always look for cash flow and I always look for capital growth. And if you only have one, you will fall over somewhere. And if you, whichever one it is, it's not enough. You've got to have them both all the time. And I always look at how to drought-proof my business. So, yeah.
So one final sharing is just articulating what Sandra said, which is just so powerful, is that if you go to anyone who's got money, they'll always tell you their biggest problem is getting rid of the money. They'll always tell you that's the biggest issue is getting the money out there. And if you say, well, don't you have hundreds of people wanting your money? They'll go, yeah, I've got hundreds of people wanting it, but I've got these 3 companies I want to give it to, and none of them will take the money. So the issue is not how to be the hundreds trying to find the money. The issue is how do you become one of those 3 who actually everyone wants to give the money to? And they're constantly saying, I'm not taking your money. And the answer is exactly that, is cash flow, capital growth. If you have those 2 things, then just like they always say, banks will always give the money to people that don't need it, right? It's because you've already got strength in what you're doing. If you don't have those things, you're going to be struggling looking for money all the time. So find it internally, and then it all gets attracted to you as well.
We also had the vision and the belief and all of the things all the 1%ers that made the 100%, and the business, the bank said the business plan was the best business plan they'd ever seen. And I think that's really important that you're really clear that your vision is documented so that people can understand it as well. If you've got an idea and you're passionate about it, it's not enough. You've got to have everything else behind it as well. You've got to have the process and you've got to have the systems in place to be able to deliver it.
Very good. Okay, thanks, Sandra. I want to take that as your one final thing you want to share with everybody. I'm going to come over to Josh. What would you want to share with everyone, Josh?
I guess talking about the online marketing, there's a few things recently I've found, and we have talked about mobile devices, but I think a lot of people underestimate the power and the actual penetration that mobile internet has. We had a question earlier, raise your hand if you've got internet on your phone. I found that recent email campaigns we were doing, over 60% of those emails were getting opened on an iPhone, which is huge. And most people don't have their website set up to be iPhone friendly, so they've got these emails and they're trying to get traffic, but then they go to the website and it's flash and half of the website's not there. So that's just one little thing to really, don't ignore mobile marketing, because that's a wave that everyone has the opportunity to ride. And another thing I was just actually chatting a minute ago with Sandra about is the way you approach your online marketing. I think when websites started, people were trying to set up like an online brochure, which was quite wide. Like if you look at the homepage, it was like there's all that information, and then you find your way down to that little part where you're interested in. Whereas you're actually better to have several niche websites that focus on that little part for that specific person, and then they're drawn in to look further and it expands, rather than overwhelming them with choice and then they're trying to find their own way. Make it really easy so when they find you online they go, wow, this is exactly what I'm looking for, and then they're easily drawn through. Because too many people get to a website too hard and they leave. But if you can really connect with your target market and just expanding on the farm products, and also the lady was talking about where does she start, really understanding your target market and looking at a community where you can ask them what they want, really focus on them. Those few things will set you apart, because most people, as we're talking about video, a lot of people don't have video on their websites. A lot of people have got a website that's 3 years old and they're focused on getting on top of Google rather than really having a connection with their community. So,
very good. Thank you. Alan?
I guess, I don't know if many people fall into this category here, but I'm always amazed when I go to a restaurant and they make absolutely no attempt to capture my name and address. It's astounding. Yeah. And there are just so many businesses I find that just don't do the real basics, which is absolutely, one, capturing that person's name and physical address and giving some good reason for doing that, and then consistently following up after that. It's just absolutely fundamental, and it's really the way that I've, one of the main ways I built my business is by doing that consistently through multimedia or multiple types of media. And you need a system to do that, and there are systems out there, but you've really got to embrace that, I feel, certainly from my point of view, that's absolutely fundamental to every business today.
Absolutely. Jeff?
Well, they say as human beings we're kind of the sum of our habits, right? Is that true? Like the habits we do every day? And I'll leave you with this. If for 30 days you do this habit, it will alter your life You will be unrecognizable in the 30 days, and you will be unshakable through the toughest challenges. How many of you are curious about this? Cool. I've been doing this habit for 10 years. Not all the time, but about 95% of my life. When I lost $15 million, it got me through that. When I've been through the tough relationship challenges, it got me through that. When things are thriving, it only accelerates it. So here's the habit, and take it on for 30 days. If you don't like it, throw it out. So much so that if I was going to pass away, I would leave you with this. Clear? The first thing you do when you wake up in the morning, number one, this is going to sound very simple, but this is the morning routine that if you do this, you will become unshakable and you will be successful. It's just a matter of time. Number one, wake up, drink a lot of water. Hands down. You're dehydrated, drink water. Number two, and this is going to sound simple, but most of you don't do this. Number two, you don't touch any TV, don't touch any email, nothing. Stay away from all of it. Go directly, number two, go directly over and like make a green smoothie of some sort. You know what I'm talking about. Spinach, almond milk, all the stuff that doesn't taste good, but down it anyway. A green smoothie consists of almond milk, protein powder, Udo's oil. Look it up online. Find a smoothie that makes sense for you. But still, don't touch any TV. Okay? Then meditate. Absolutely. Put on headphones. If you don't know how to meditate, fake it. Okay? It doesn't matter. Put on some headphones and sit with your spine straight and breathe. That's all you need to do for right now. The rest will take care of itself. We naturally, as human beings, meditate. We're in a meditative state naturally. So you just have to just sit naturally and hold up, listen to his CDs. It'll get you there. So you wake up, drink a smoothie, sit, meditate. Still no outside world coming in yet. Okay? Then, if you can, go outside, exercise. If you have to go to the gym, go exercise at the gym. Immediately get your blood flowing, get moving. While you're at the gym, I learned this from Tony Robbins, it's called net time. Okay? Listen to some sort of empowering CD set, or MP3, something empowering while you're at the gym. I used to not like going to the gym because I'm like sitting there on that treadmill, it's so boring. But then when I plugged in something that was interesting, I was watching TED Talks. I was like, this is so fun. I look forward to my gym time. So number three, you're moving now. You're in action. Okay? Listen to a thought leader, somebody that inspires you. Then start your day. That is your time. 6 to 9 o'clock, 8 to 10 o'clock, that is your time, only your time. You do that for the rest of your life as much as possible, and you will get through the most challenging times in your life. And the right ideas will show up, you'll have meditative space, and you'll be more grounded in who you are and where you want to go. How many of you are actually curious about what that would do? For 30 days, be really willing to take that on, like for real. Awesome, wonderful, thank you.
Very cool, very good. I'd like you all to please acknowledge our Changemakers up here for just contributing so much. Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you, guys. This has been awesome.